Hello, guys. Welcome to Through Our Eyes podcast with your hosts, Dracthonia and
Arthremis. Hello.
I will let Arthremis tell the story of the podcast as it is overall her baby.
Well, the initial idea originally was in terms of Through Our Eyes, although Drac did come up with a name for it. Essentially, when I started growing my stream more and started thinking about, being a marginalised creator, I started thinking there's so many more marginalised creators out there. And in a lot of ways on Twitch, it's difficult for us to grow, difficult for us to meet each other, and difficult for us to be taken seriously sometimes because there's a lot of stigma and there's a lot of misinformation and just a lot of people who may not know about us or the right way to approach us or the right way to ask questions. And so I wanted to start a platform where people could have those awkward questions and where we could have those difficult discussions and where we could get to know each other and embrace our differences while also still putting ourselves up there with everybody else. And so I started, it was originally called a discussion about being marginalised in the public eye, but that was crap and didn't roll off the tongue. So I asked other people for ideas, and Drac was like, what about Through Our Eyes? And I was like, yes, that's perfect. So we had the first Through Our Eyes stream at the end of January, which was absolutely incredible and introduced me to a lot of other creators, marginalized creators of all sorts across the entire sort of array of beautiful, amazing marginalized peoples. And then Drac was like, hey, what if we did a podcast as well? And we invited those creators on one-on-one to have more in-depth discussions on a more personal level. And here we are.
Pretty much. So ourselves as part of being marginalized creators, it's all pretty close to home for us. Where I haven't silenced my alerts. Second. And so what I wanted from this podcast was also to very much zone in on featuring individual people's stories, because the streams were so intensely packed full of information for everyone, and it was talking about big topics together as a group. Well, I wanted the podcast to be more focusing on individual people's stories. So today we went for a special one based around Black History Month, because it is a very important topic that we need to be discussing. And the lovely RekitRaven has agreed to talk to us and share her story and basically have a good old natter. So, would you like to introduce yourself, your content, where people can find you, your pronouns, etc., etc.?
Sure. I am Raven. I go by she or they. I am probably, like, if you take all the marginalized communities and throw them in one, hi, that's me. I like to say that I'm chaotic good. So I just really try to find other marginalized communities, raise money for them through charity streaming. I play a lot of horror streams. One of the things or horror streams, yes, exactly. One of the things that I actually try to do with my content is help people heal through their mental traumas by sharing mine. So just a little bit about that. Like, I've always dealt with anxiety and depression since I was a kid. And that was a lot of my upbringing, which I could write a book and we would be here for the next 2 years. But the one thing that really kind of threw a proverbial stick in my spokes was nearly losing my life in childbirth. And that was only 1.5 years ago. So, yeah, I have PTSD from it. I had postpartum depression massively. my depression has kind of just taken a hold of everything. So I try to make it seem like we are as infinitesimal in the grand scheme of things as we are. And that's my content. Wow, I can't talk today. Words are hard. I'm just chaotic good.
Roll that.
I'm a weeb. I play a lot of co-op horror games. I like open world games. But honestly, my bread and butter is actually just chatting with people and kind of checking in with them and, just talking about hard things, including, politics and gender identities and the LGBTQ, community and issues within there. So I like having a lot of uncomfortable conversations. I think that we have shied away from that for too long, and I'm tired of it.
Yeah.
With you there.
I definitely understand. Sometimes you, to protect yourself, you choose not to discuss these things, but some people also have the luxury of not having to have these conversations.
Exactly.
Which is a problem. So that's why it means a lot when people that don't necessarily have to have these conversations do.
Exactly.
And that's why we also need to be our best advocates and stand up for each other. And that's why we're having this conversation with you today, Raven, because you're an incredibly valid person. Everything you've gone through, like, Jesus Christ, sucks, but you are still here and you're fantastic. And it's an honor to speak with you today. It really is.
Oh, don't. I'm not going to do it. I might cry a little bit, but it's okay because I got my anxiety blankie. And if my makeup runs, you can't see it because it's black.
Excellent. And it just adds to the whole
It just adds
look.
to
It's
it,
fine.
yeah.
It does, right?
Exactly.
Everyone always says that, goths are morbid and everything. It's like, yeah, but you haven't really thought about how the fact that our makeup is actually on point for covering up our angst.
Yes, we burst out crying. We just cosplay the crow. It's fine.
Right? We're
Right.
good. It's fine.
You just Brandon Lee this shit.
But yeah, no, I agree with Paige. I cannot fathom how that journey must have impacted your life, and I'm excited to hear a little bit more about your experiences and your story today. So shall we jump to our first question? We're really ahead of schedule. We got into this real easy. This is quite impressive.
Yes.
Well, you have a professional guest and not just you and me blathering at each other.
It's true.
Okay, I don't know about professional. That's.
Just let me pretend. Just let me pretend.
Okay.
We know what we're doing.
Give me that.
Let's just go with that.
Don't worry. If we get stuck, Strigger's in the back of the stream. We can look at Strigger. It's fine.
Distraction tactic.
I'm here for it.
Right. So,
cheers.
First question that we've got is what challenges you have faced in your journey towards being the creator you are today, with your mental health issues and being a BIPOC creator, and balancing that work-life balance, etc.
Oh, well, don't I have an answer for you? Listen, challenges are going to be there regardless of what profession I choose to be in. I am loud. I am black. That makes me an angry black woman. They find out that I'm queer, and then, I'm going to hell, which I already knew. Hello. But people like to be very vocal about that, no matter where you are, right? So even in my day-to-day, people will look at me, think that goth is immediately a white thing, and then create all forms of assumptions about me. And even in my streams, I've had people literally hate raid me or jump into my Discord and start throwing slurs at me while I'm live, right? it is what it is. Like, I want to say that I'm not used to it, but I am. So the only thing that I can really do is just keep going.
I mean, I feel like, just to interject that, I feel like how you phrase that in itself is reflective of how this shit is just normalized.
Yes.
Like, you've just said that basically you just have to get on with it. That's bullshit. There should be no situation where that is normal and that is expected. Yep. Well, that's just part of the job.
I agree, but I mean, it is like, unfortunately, it is a white dominated world, right? Like, I inherently am viewed as lesser than, and unfortunately, it's my job to prove everybody wrong, because instead of, being able to sit at the same table and even with my skill sets and earn the same amount or, be at the same level of popularity on a platform where popularity is key, is harder.
Yes.
It's harder.
You've started from an unlevel playing field. And,
exactly.
And I will clarify to the chat, because I'm me and Drac sat here nodding. We're agreeing with what she's saying, not the fact that it exists. No. I just want to put that very plainly. Because,
quite often I sit here just going, I recognise that.
Yes. And I will just say that's not an endorsement. That's us going, yes, we understand. I just want to make that clear.
Yeah. Oh no, you're good, because I do the same thing. Like, I'll have my slack ass jaw yeah. I get it. Yeah. But I mean, so I've already started 6 feet under, proverbially speaking. Mm-hmm. I'm okay with it because, unfortunately, that's what society has already dictated for me. But it doesn't mean that my work ethic is any less than, a white counterpart. It doesn't mean that my goals to succeed and my ability to try to do good in the world is any less than from somebody who is, a cis white male. Mm-hmm. Those challenges are always going to be there. They're getting better, but they're still there because inherently we are taught racism. Inherently, we are taught that anybody who is not of a fair complexion is cast aside by society. Anybody who is not straight is cast aside by society. And even white women can be cast aside by society. Because we live in a patriarchy. And that's not to say that there aren't men out there. So before y'all cancel me, don't at me, okay? That's not to say that there are not white men out there who are struggling, who don't, who actually voice their opinions in favor of marginalized communities. I'm not saying that at all. But you do have to understand that you are working with a system that was built for you.
I think that's one of the things that is so often misinterpreted by people speaking up about marginalized groups, is that we're not saying that you're all like that. We're saying that because of these people that are, that's how it makes it the situation that it is, and
exactly
you ignoring it or fighting it is adding to that problem.
And it's okay to be upset by that, by the way, because it is okay to feel unjustly treated, because it is unjust that you may be treated the same as somebody else that is actually putting down marginalized peoples. But the way to fight that isn't to get angry at the marginalized people saying they're being treated badly. It's to look at the group that you belong to and say, how does this change? So instead of being in a work meeting and letting your male co-worker speak over a female co-worker, it's actually saying, hey, shut up, she was speaking. It's standing up for those, not standing against them to bolster yourself.
Exactly. And I think that a lot of people neglect to understand, like, thankfully, like, my community is great. Like, as soon as, like, you know, somebody comes in and starts spewing something, like, they're like, get out of here. Like, who are you? Who are you? You're nobody. So that's good to have that.
That's
but
lovely. That's
the fact, right? It's like, listen, shout out to Sensitive Joy, because she's trigger finger. Like, as soon as somebody said something stupid, she's like, gone. I don't even see the messages half the time. Okay? Great. It's absolutely great. But the fact that people are still inclined to try to bring forth misery to somebody based off of the color of their skin, the way they look, their sexual preference, their gender identity, is absolutely ridiculous. Ridiculous. There's no need for it.
Yeah, no, I think that pretty much sums it up. It's just...
My eyes gonna start twitching because, like, I just want to find these people's parents and be like, "Who the fuck are you? Don't have children."
Teach your kids? Yeah, why did you teach your kids this way? But
the thing is, I mean, I've come from a very horrible background. Like, my family are those people, and I've been through that teaching, that upbringing, and my family don't want to talk to me because I have a different opinion, and because despite that upbringing, I went, no, this seems wrong. This is not right. Also, I like girls as well.
Right? Like, there's nothing wrong with it.
and suddenly it was, and also I don't always feel female. Yeah. And wait, you're telling me that that's wrong? That doesn't seem right to me. Yeah. So I can see from that perspective that it's, the families often are coming from a point where they don't think about what it is that they're doing. They're not actively educating their kids to do it, but they're not, because obviously they're imprinting their own opinions onto their kids, and that's where schools come in to, you know, hopefully encourage the kids into that. But that's an entire different kettle of fish altogether.
So to kind of play to that, like, I understand that, because that was my upbringing as well. But here's the kicker: I'm adopted, and I was adopted into a white family, so I was not taught about what it meant to be Black, right? And I was taught through microaggressions and, like, body language to be racist against my own people. And that's not something I'm proud of, but it's something that I broke. You know what I mean? Like, as a kid, if there was a Black guy crossing or walking down the street, like, I had no idea that he saw me as a little Black girl. I would cross the street because I was scared, because that is how I was taught. So when people tell me that racism is not inherent, I'm proving you wrong. I'm proving you wrong. It is. And unfortunately, I don't think parents truly understand that the impact of their words, but even more so the impact of their actions.
Yeah. It's a responsibility.
It is. And now that I have 2 children, like, it puts a lot into perspective, right? So I will sit there and I'll do makeup, and my son's like, well, I want to do makeup. I'm like, cool. Or, like, he got into my makeup, and the reason why I got mad was because he destroyed $200 worth of my shit, and not because he actually wanted to do it. And I was like, babe, like, if you want to do makeup, I will teach you. He's like, well, can you teach me? I'm like, yes, but not right now, because I'm upset with you. But it's I think when we grew up, no matter where we were in the world, like, it was definitely a different time where we were still skating that line of being just blatantly ignorant. And unfortunately, that has not yet been eradicated. It needs to be, but it's not yet been.
Because of conversations, not to toot a horn, but more like being able to have conversations like this. And actually, I've never been to America. I've never been to other parts of the world. There's so many types of people I'd never get to speak to. I'm a disabled woman that lives in the UK, which is inherently racist and transphobic. It's horrible, but I'd have never got to meet anyone with another view without the internet. And I think as, more of the the more recent generations, as the bloody newspapers like to put it, are growing up and understanding from each other that it's okay to be who you are and to understand and to challenge bias and things you have been taught. I think that's why we're starting to get a more tolerant society, but mostly in younger people. And that's not to say that older generations are all less tolerant, but there is a lot more inherent bias in older generations who only really got information through TV or through newspapers or through word of mouth, and you only hear things colored by other people's perspectives.
Exactly. Yeah, we all carry biases and we all pass them along. The difference is knowing that you have that bias and working to change it.
Yeah, and just understanding. And you're not a bad person for having a bias or for I can only put it in terms of who I am. So if you thought something against people who are pansexual, so I'm not going to call you a bad person for thinking me being pansexual is wrong. I will only call you a bad person if you vehemently believe that and refuse to listen to anyone or educate yourself.
Yes.
Or when somebody comes to you and says, well, this is why I believe you're wrong. If you go, no, I don't, it doesn't exist, I didn't hear it, fuck you, then that makes you a bad person. But realizing that there's more for you to learn, that's good. That's a good thing. It can be scary to realize that you may have said or done something hurtful, but you can be a better person by acknowledging that and trying to change it.
Exactly.
And trying to learn from it.
Exactly. And I think change is scary for people. I think,
Yes.
As humans, we are so rooted in the comfort of our safety nets, no matter what they are. Because, like, for me, my safety net was my trauma. Ironically enough, like, I wore that shit like a security blanket. Like this guy. But it's hard to change. It's hard to admit defeat. It's hard to admit failure. But all of those things are teachable moments. Like, the fear of failure, to me, after kind of breaking my toxic mindset, if you will, seems very wasteful. Failure is not a bad thing. And I think if we as a society start treating it like that, then we can really start removing biases, because it would take people to understand that they have failed in something. Failure is a basis for change. Failure gives us the point that doesn't work. So now we know which one does.
Yeah. I mean,
it's just information.
Basically, failure is the stepping stones to success. It's
exactly.
I mean, as content creators, I'm sure we can all agree that basically trial and error is our bread and butter of trying to get anywhere with our stuff. And if you fear failure, then you're not going to end up making those steps to change, to adapt, and to better yourselves.
Exactly.
Raven, if I can put in a little note towards just what you've been saying, sorry, I'm just sticking another question in here. My brain completely placed on me for a second. Because a lot of what I've been thinking when I think about bias and I think about people having thoughts and feelings against another for whatever reason that is, do you think it's because of fear? Because that's what I think it is. I don't think people necessarily inherently hate each other. I think they're scared, or they've been taught to be frightened, or they've been told something bad will happen if they allow another person to exist in the way that they do.
Oh, yeah, no, absolutely. Fear is a powerful form of control. If you can teach somebody to fear, that means that you can control their thought process in that regard.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So yeah, fear absolutely is a reason for bias. Because we remember negative things more than we remember positive things. And I'm pretty sure that like predates like our ancestors who were like in caves and swinging around sticks and shit. Because if at that point, like if we found something that was negative, we knew to stay the fuck away, right? So as we are growing, evolving, changing, like our biology still is, for the most part, very much intact.
Very much so.
So fear definitely is a way to control people. And, you know, when Black people were brought over from, you know, our home place in Africa to wherever we had to go, or not had to go, but wherever we were forcefully taken, we were taught that we were bad.
Yes.
And this kind of brings up a very interesting point, because there is like trauma that is passed down through ancestry, right?
There's actual biological evidence of that. But sorry, that's the geneticist coming out in me, and we don't want to get there.
No, you're fine. But yes, absolutely. Those biases are taught from way, way back, right? Yes. And we were always taught to be feared because we were, you know, violent and we were nothing, and the color of our skin was, you know, the equivalent of dirt, to kind of, you know, give rise to Europeans with fair skin and, you know, light hair. I mean, those are facts. So again, don't at me, but
they are facts.
Don't at me. But that's where bias comes from, because again, fear is one of those things that it is one of the most powerful ways to control somebody.
And so I think it really is worth thinking, like, if you do have a bias, again, it may not make you a bad person, but what are you afraid of? How can you change that? Because even as Raven says, as a young Black girl, you were afraid of an older Black man, not because necessarily he was Black, but you were taught that was something to fear. That man may have been something to fear. So it wasn't because again, I may be speaking for you, but I'm thinking more like, if I was in that position, it wasn't because he's Black, that's bad. It's because I could get hurt. So
because
what's the reason for your fear? Can you address that and realize it's not the other person's fault, it's your own inherent fear?
Yeah. And it part of it is fear, and part of it is the teachings, right? Yes. Like part of it is we are a product of our society. You can see that here. If we weren't a product of our society, we wouldn't have had the Capitol riots. You know, we wouldn't have, you know, these hateful ass, like, white supremacist groups being literally walked down the stairs. Because if you know, the hypocrisy is real, because, you know, any Black Lives Matter protest, as peaceful as they were, we were thugs. We were, you know, trashing everything. We were rioting. We are bad. But I mean, you can see it, like the devil's in the details. You see it. So part of it, yes, is fear, but part of it is also the teachings of what society has essentially passed down.
Definitely, because it's turned from teaching somebody to fear something into teaching them that, well, you already know that it's bad. You don't need to know that you're afraid of it now. Everyone knows it's bad. So you start controlling one group and they will pass that down to their kids, I think. And so, there's a lot to it. And it
there's
really
a lot
sucks.
to unpack for sure, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. But I just, funny isn't the word I mean, but it makes my brain hurt that racism is only a thing based on who lived closer to the equator. It's, oh my God. In terms of, you know, evolved, you know, humanoids that live on a rock that has water on it that goes around some other rocks, that has a smaller rock that goes around some gas inside a vacuum we can't comprehend. We hate each other based on who lived nearer to the middle of a fucking rock.
Go off, because that was good. Go the fuck off. I love it.
this, because it's one of the things I used to, and let me take a quick pause before I say it. It's one of the things I used to calm me sometimes if I get stressed, because it's like, oh God, this is the worst thing that's ever happened to me. Okay, equate me, small thing in a house which is on a rock, which is on a bigger bit of rock, immersed in water, and then on a bigger rock, and then it goes around with a smaller rock, and it's like you just zoom it out each time, and the problems are so small, but they are so big to us individually, which is why they need working on. Because sure, I'm guessing an alien that visits from Venus isn't going to quite understand what's going on, but it is our lives, and it is what we as a race of sort of, or species even of humans have done to each other.
Yeah,
there is no bloody universal law that black people are this and white people are this and that Asian people are this. No, it's literally who lives closer to the middle of a fucking flaming rock covered in water.
Yep.
And that's
Yes.
It's one of those things that I'm just sat there like, because like, if my husband's here, he'd be nodding as well, because the second I heard about the riots, I was actually streaming so the whole Capitol stuff, and obviously I'm not in America, so I didn't necessarily understand the full significance of it initially. But I looked at it and then I saw some selfies and I was like,
yep,
hold on. And then the rage started to rise in me, and I turned to my husband and went, they're stealing shit. Wait, hold on. Wait. The police if they were black, they'd be dead.
Yep.
But they are white and they are stealing shit and laughing about it on the internet. And I couldn't have imagined what an actual black American looking at this would feel, because I was incensed for hours. And I'm a white Brit. Like,
I actually did a stream that day because
Yeah.
I had to get some shit off my chest.
mm-hmm.
I had to.
Tell us about that. Like, what was your reaction to it?
I was shaking. I was literally so angry. I was in tears.
Mm-hmm.
Because here I go. I hate it. I hate being here. I hate always having to fucking defend who I am based off of one thing.
Mm-hmm.
Because they can't even get to the fact that I'm pansexual, that I'm a demigirl, that, I fucking yada, 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 whatever. That I have PTSD. They only see my skin tone. And instantly that's it. Mm-hmm. I've been told so many times to go back to where I came from. Like, hello, I would, but your fucking great-great-granddaddy decided to take my great-great-grandmama from the place in Africa that I don't know where it is because y'all erased my culture.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but it's hard to see. And it's hard to live in a place where I'm still considered lesser than. I don't have a criminal record at all. I've done really stupid things. I've never gotten caught, whatever, but like I changed my ways. I like to think I'm a good person. I will never say I'm a good person because I know that I can be a little bit of a devil. But I always try to be the change I want to see. I want to be kind to people. I want to, make sure that people, feel comfortable enough around me to like be able to let me support them. But a lot of people won't even give me the time of day.
Simply because of where your ancestors live closer to the middle of a fucking rock.
Yes.
Do you feel, personally, that if you were in a different country, you would have a different experience?
That is a good question.
Just because from what you said, it's like, America is very, very much this is a huge situation. Do you think that would change if you went somewhere else or lived somewhere else?
I mean, it's kind of hard to say because I don't know. I can't speak to issues of racism anywhere else. Like, I know that it's there. Like, I've heard stories of like, black people in China being basically like swarmed and like taken pictures of, or like even in Canada, there's people who will drop slurs at somebody who is not a white person. So it's hard for me to say. I don't think that my experience necessarily would change too much unless I was in my country of origin.
Mm.
And even then, you have like Africa and then you have South Africa.
I was going to say there's there's its own version there of issues that I would say was stemming from still that racism of.
Yeah, I don't think that my experience would change much, and that's unfortunate to say. Like I actually tweeted about this the other day. Like, me or any person of color will always have to work harder, push through more bullshit, have to persevere, not be able to crack, not be able to clap back, not be able to, in order to make it. And I'm tired of that. Like, I'm a clap back. You could call me an angry black woman. I don't give a fuck. Because I got something to say and I'm going to say it.
Exactly.
In my opinion, everyone should be angry, be forceful about their rights and situation, and fuck anyone who decides otherwise. But then I'm just an angry 6-foot goth. So
I'm
a tiny 5'1" goth.
Oh, it's all right. I'm only 5 foot, so we can keep getting smaller. It's fine.
Yes. Hey,
it's all right. We'll get there. But so just thinking about just what you were saying, then I was trying to think like what would I recommend to show people a little bit about, what good representation for, a black person's struggles. Have you seen Umbrella Academy, Raven?
Yes.
What did you think about the representation in season 2? Because I asked Tiffany Witcher.
I hadn't watched season 2.
That's fine. So there is some what I believe and what I asked Tiffany, because obviously during the last stream, I asked Tiffany what did she think as a black woman in America, and she agreed that it was heartbreaking but good representation. I'm interested to find out what other people think, because as a white person, again, not in America, so I don't really know a ton about what happened with some of the movements going on in the sort of 60s, 50s and 60s. But there is I won't spoil it for you because I think you should watch it. Just make sure you have some tissues handy. But there is a scene, if you want to understand a little bit, if you're watching this and you want to understand a little bit what black people may have gone through during some of the movements in the 60s and how some people are still treated today. In the second season of Umbrella Academy, there is, I'll just say, a cafe scene, a coffee shop scene. And I know that when I watched it, it felt like something clicked and it felt like I suddenly started understanding. I was just like, oh.
Yeah.
Fuck.
On that, have you got any particular media that or like films, books, games that you feel actually gives you that sense of adequate representation that you can identify?
Get Out is incredible.
That, honestly, I watched it and like I was fucking cringing because those are those microaggressions. Oh, well, I would have voted Obama in for a third term. Like, that's not an ally. Stop doing it for clout. Don't do that. Don't do that shit. Like, you don't have to try to appeal to me by giving me black references. I know my history, man. Like, I get it. You don't have to be like, oh, yo, you like basketball? I don't. Do I look like I look like basketball? Because if you say yes, racist. You know what I mean?
That's another stereotype. Like, no, that.
Yes, I like fried chicken and watermelon. Guess what? Everybody else does, unless you're.
There are people that don't.
Well, yeah, but I'm saying it's just like That was a really good representation because I watched it with my partner and he is white. Mm-hmm. So it was good to watch because I don't think he really understood the gravity of everything. He would see the looks when we were out in public. And I was like, he's like, well, they're looking at us. I'm like, oh, okay. I didn't even notice. Like, it happened so frequently to me that I don't give a fuck. Keep looking. I don't care. And he would get bothered by it. but that is a very, very good reference. And I would look into, honestly, James Baldwin is one of the, he's a good representation. Like he's not fictional. He is a real person, and he was a black man who was fighting for civil rights. He's a good representation. Angela Davis is a good representation. I'm, of course, going more so into factual, but
that's good.
Really, really quick, I'm going to say this. Not all black people want to be Martin Luther King Jr. Thank you very much. Okay. Like, yes, he had his place and that was awesome, but not everybody's going to be equally as peaceful because we are tired. Okay. I'm letting you know. We're tired.
Yeah. And you can't always rely on a marginalized person to educate you on what being marginalized is like. But we're having these discussions with people that do want to teach.
Yes.
But it is tiring. So
it is.
That's why it's great to ask and to get some recommendations from people who know, so that you can work to educate yourself as well.
That's the thing, isn't it?
Other people aren't Google. You can't go to them and just be like, tell me about all the shit that's happened to you, please. I need to understand it. And it's like, okay, lots of people have documented that. You could go and read it anywhere.
Mm-hmm. This podcast is basically aiming to give snapshots into people's lives that maybe most people haven't experienced or haven't seen for themselves, or maybe that for those who want to find people that they can identify with. And it is supposed to be educational. It's supposed to be where we talk about the difficult things. But not everyone wants to do that. Not everyone wants to have to constantly share their story over and over and over again to educate people and to because it's not up to them. They are them. That's it. Mm-hmm. That is first and foremost. They are themselves, and it is not it's not their job to go round and individually find everyone who doesn't know about that thing and educate them, and then go, here's a list of all of the resources that you could possibly need, because I just enjoy spending all of my time doing this.
Yes, I enjoy spending all of my time being reduced to the parts that you want me to share.
Yeah.
Like,
yes, please,
Raven,
just
you're a BIPOC creator, but that is not all of who you are.
Yeah, exactly.
No. But
it's not. It's a massive part of who I am. But the issue lies that people don't want to see more than that, right?
Exactly. People will put you down simply because of that small part they can physically see.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, there's other parts as well. But we've been talking mostly about race at this point.
Yeah, I was going to say that I wanted to move on to the mental health bit for a bit as well. But
sure, yeah, absolutely.
Because in that part of telling us about your story a little bit and your issues on the mental health side, you have mentioned that you've been experiencing PTSD and you've been on new medications, and tell us a bit about your journey with that as well.
It's hard because a lot of people don't take me seriously. Like, a lot of people in the medical field in general, have inherent biases about people of color. But for me personally, like, there are times that I'm not believed. There are times that, I'm almost made to feel bad for what I'm feeling. I've been through a couple providers now. Like, there was one who I actually was like, she was specifically for LGBTQIA2 plus, people. But I could tell that she did not want to talk to me. And she kind of just like put me off or like brushed me aside. And like, I'd be pouring out my feelings and like crying. And she's like, well, maybe you should try this for sleeping. And I'm like, you're not listening to me. You're not listening to me. Like, I know my sleep is an issue. But my sleep is an issue because I can't shut my brain off from replaying almost dying or having incredibly irrational fears to normal fears. incredibly irrational fears to the point where like I would make myself sick over it. I was maybe, if I was lucky, I was getting 2 hours of sleep a night. I mean, like my eyes were just sunk in. Like I was a mess. Mm-hmm. And it's hard because sorry.
It's
all right. Take
fine.
your time.
Take all the time you need. It's a difficult subject.
I know, like, I partially blame my doctors for putting me in the situation of like nearly losing my life, because I had gone to them with issues. Like I had gained 7 pounds in a week in the last couple weeks of my trimester. Ooh. Or of my pregnancy of the last trimester. And it was all water weight. Like my fingers were swollen, my ankles were swollen. I have a picture of it somewhere, but like they looked like tree trunks. And so they did all the tests. They're like, oh, you're fine. Like, drink water, you'll be fine. I had preeclampsia.
Yeah.
I was going to say.
Both Drac and I are like, oh, I know what that is.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I had preeclampsia. And then when I was in the hospital and they had the blood pressure cuff on me, like my blood pressure was in seizure range. And I was in labor for 32 hours. And there was one nurse who was like, well, this doesn't look right. Let me put a bigger cuff on you. And so when she put the bigger blood pressure cuff on me, that's when she started getting normal readings, but it wasn't accurate because it wasn't a cuff for my arm.
Yeah.
So because of that, I nearly bled out.
Yeah.
I lost a significant amount of my body's blood content.
Do you suspect that was, again, that influence of not taking you seriously as a black woman or as a woman? Because also this is something that's quite often the issue with medical
yes.
scenarios, is that women aren't taken seriously as it is.
Yes. I have to say both. I have to say both, because if you look at it statistically, like the maternal mortality rate in this country is terrible. But most of those women are women of color.
Yeah.
So statistically speaking, it was probably both. You know, like, and it sucks. And I know I can't blame them, but I kind of do. Because if they had listened to me and actually taken me seriously, I wouldn't have PTSD right now. And like, don't get me wrong, I've been through my fair share of like very traumatic shit in my life. But for some reason, like that was what did it. That was what did it. Because now I can't even look at my daughter's delivery pictures without losing my mind.
Sorry, I'm getting emotional as well, like just because it strikes a chord very heavily with me, and it
didn't need to have happened if they'd have listened to you.
That's the thing.
I'm so sorry they didn't. I'm so sorry they didn't.
But this is the problem. This is for women, and especially and black women. It's just medical situations are just so poorly angled towards helping and paying attention to what they're saying and to understanding them. And I just...
People are often told that women are over emotional. Obviously, they have their periods and they couldn't be trusted as president because they'd have nuclear codes on their periods. And women, you know, they can't have time off work during cramps. They're just making this shit up. But men won't go and buy a sanitary towel because it's unmanly. Women, and again, especially from Raven's perspective, women of color are always told that they are too emotional, and so what they are saying can't be right because they must be playing it up, which is why we don't get listened to. It's why you know, we are reduced very much to our sexual organs. It's just can you make a baby? Awesome. We're not going to give you any say over it, really, and if you think something's wrong, doesn't matter because a man hasn't said that. But at the same time, when you tell somebody there's something wrong with me and they don't listen, what are you meant to do? What are you meant to do? I believe, was it Serena Williams who recently had an issue in the hospitals where they weren't listening to her and she ended up incredibly sick.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just reading that going, but why did nobody, like, even as a layperson, I'm looking at like, something seriously wrong. They need to do a test. And it's like, no, she's being just being a woman.
Yeah, it's crazy. And it's hard.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard because I have the scar. I have a C-section scar too, but a lot of the scars that I have, you can't see. And my lash is falling off. I'm just going to take this thing off. Thank you. I'll put that back on in a minute. Oh God, wow, that's a difference. Okay.
How was the support after? With the dealing with the PTSD and the postnatal depression, what?
It was interesting. It was interesting because, like, when I first went in and they were like, "I'm really trying to put this thing back on. It's not going to sit."
We can take a moment and sort out eyelashes first, just to thank it.
I can pee too, but like, let me finish this and I'm going to go pee,
right.
if that's okay.
All right, we'll take a quick break for you. Don't worry.
But when I first went in and I was like, yes, I have postpartum depression. I'm telling you, like, I had it with my son. I have it with my daughter. And even more so because physically I was so exhausted. Like my blood count was low. My iron count was low. My body was working extra hard to try to get everything. They couldn't give me a transfusion because I was breastfeeding.
Right.
So I was like, yes, I have postpartum depression. So they're like, oh, okay. So they send me to this woman who decided to talk to me about her neighbor's son, who I happen to work with. I can't make this shit up. I can't make this shit up.
Oh.
I can't make this shit up. Yep. She's like, oh, you know Austin? Yeah, Austin's such a good guy. And first of all, let me tell you something, lady. Austin is a douche, okay? Like, he's a terrible person. And I don't want to hear this. Like, I've already had issues with him, and you're not helping.
Yeah, I came to you for help, not to gossip.
Right? Like, oh my God. I was just like, oh, okay. So I actually filed a complaint.
Good.
And I went somewhere else. And then that counselor was amazing.
Good.
She actually took the time to listen to me, and she's like, yes. She's like, even me, she's like, I am a woman and I have doctors not listen to me. She's like, I can't imagine what it's like for you. So she was the first person to actually make me feel valid. And my doctors kept trying to force medication on me, and I didn't want to do that because I was breastfeeding. And yes, they say it's safe, but I don't want to chance it.
Fair, and that's your decision.
Right? So it was hell. It was hell. Like, my poor partner, it was hell. I would literally just leave the kids with him, get in the car and go, and not come back for hours. And it was in those moments that I was very heavily, sorry, trigger warning, very heavily considering just driving into the water.
Yep. Understood.
Because I hurt. Mentally, I was tired, my body hurt, and then, I didn't realize that I had PTSD at that point. My therapist told me I had PTSD. And she's like, have you ever considered that? I was like, I didn't. I thought this was all just, postpartum depression. And it made sense. Having that helped, but not enough. So that's where the medication came into play. And that's why I started it, because I was tired of running myself through the fucking, the mill over things that I could not control. I would literally think, and I was sure that either I was going to die or somebody around me was going to die that night. because that's what it does. Like people think PTSD, oh, like you see everything the same way. That no, it's not that. It is literally just reliving the same thing over and over and over again in your own way, and having those little bits and pieces affect you in your day to day. My daughter fell, she hit her lip, she cut her lip open. I couldn't handle it, because I was convinced the next thing that she was going to do was fucking like swallow a pencil and like, I don't know, fucking puncture the back of her throat. It was irrational. It was completely irrational, but nobody told me that that was normal. I had to figure that out for myself.
So it was an extremely lonely experience for you.
It is. It is. And it still is, because like I struggle with things that I can't put into words sometimes. Because the moment I try to actually voice it, I choke. Yo, fuck these lashes, because we're just going to cry. It's fine. I'll put them on later. But it's such a lonely place to be. And the way that it really does twist very normal things into, you know, very much exacerbated, you know, illusions is something that people don't talk about much. And I don't know why, because I didn't know that that was PTSD. Like, I thought I was just anxious.
I think a lot of it, again, is fear and shame, because I have OCD, specifically like an obsessive type, and it comes out, and it has ever since I was a little kid, in continuously playing scenarios that terrified me and obsessing on them, very much like you were just saying, because I'm just finding myself going, oh yeah, because mine started when I was a little kid, and there were a slew of, again, trigger warning for this about what I'm about to say, of child sexual assaults and murders when I was the same age as the kids it's happening to. It was on the front page of all the newspapers, and I was a kid that read a lot, and that became the most terrifying thing in the world to me. And for about 3 years, I couldn't go, you know, didn't want to go outside, but I never understood that it was in my head, that the thing that happened was real, but the fear and being frightened and that loneliness, I couldn't voice it to somebody because I thought it was bad, and I thought it was wrong, and I thought it was a problem with me. And yeah, it was controlling, and it is incredibly lonely and incredibly scary, because you're scared of your own mind, and you can't get away from your mind. It's in your head. It ain't going anywhere.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, that's pretty much anything with mental illness, is that it feels extremely lonely. You don't feel like anyone can really understand it, because you've been brought up to believe that it's shameful, that it's something that you should not be sharing with people, that you can't go to a doctor for it, because if it's on your medical record, then you're screwed for jobs forever. Yeah. Basically admitting weakness. And that,
well, it's just because people who weren't mentally sound, and this is, we were discussing on the stream as well, about like dissociative identity disorder, and people who are mentally unsound are dangerous, and so you can't admit that you've got thoughts of self-harm, or that you're scared, or that you've had suicidal ideologies. You can't say any of this is happening, because it means that you're bad. And that's what that's what we were talking about earlier as well. That's what it's inferred to children, that you have to say you're okay. It's weak to say that you're not okay. And that's very much not the case. I will stress here. These are what we're taught, and it's not the case, because mental health is intrinsically linked to health. So when you were saying that you were in the car and you were tired and you were exhausted, and your mind was stressed and tired as well, they were both just making each other worse as well. And I'm so glad somebody actually did say to you, have you thought about X? You know, as in, you know, have you thought about this idea?
Yeah.
Because
it's always going to be a struggle. The thing with mental health and mental illnesses is like, yeah, your body is free to roam around, but you are literally trapped.
Yeah.
You're trapped in your own head. And you can't get, like you said, you can't get away. It is a prison. It very quickly becomes a prison for those reasons. And, 3:00 at night or in the morning, I'm laying in bed, like literally going through all the ways that I'm going to die. That's not fucking normal.
No.
That's not normal.
No.
But it's something that I do. I mean, now I do a little bit less because the medication I'm on, which is lovely. And, my counselor now is amazing. And she, she's a white woman, but I will talk about race issues and she will always be like, thank you for telling me this because, obviously I'm not Black, but I need to know that about your experience so I can, educate myself and be able to. And I'm like, you know what? Thank you. Like all I want to do is feel valid in how I'm feeling. And if you're saying, you are valid as a Black person in feeling this, thank you. Because for some reason, even though mental health is a stigma in a BIPOC community, unheard of. You're not allowed at all. Unheard of. We see how it happens if a person of color has a fucking mental health issue and they require assistance, they are killed.
Yes. Yeah.
Which is why I'm scared to drive down the fucking road to take my kids to their doctor appointment. God forbid I'm having a fucking bad day. Or Cthulhu forbid, forgive me. Sorry. Don't smite me. But like these are real fears. These are real fears. I don't want mental health to be a stigma. Like it should be normal. And I'm glad that, as I'm getting older, I can see it come more and more into light. And like companies are starting to like put in mental health days and like the stigma is slowly being like broken apart. But we need that to not even trickle through. It needs to fucking wash over.
Agreed.
BIPOC communities. It has to. And I don't want to feel less than for not only being Black, but now I have PTSD. And I have PTSD and I didn't serve in the military. So now I'm getting like, oh, well, you were in the military. No, it's not like I feel bad for, veterans who do have PTSD. It is not a joke, but it's not just them.
Yes.
PTSD is not a military mental disease.
Yeah. Post-traumatic stress disorder. War is not the only trauma. There are lots of traumas. And so a lot of people will experience PTSD.
Yeah. Absolutely.
You said you wanted to have a quick break.
Yeah, I need to pee. I drank all this and I shouldn't have.
So we'll take a quick break there, and get our lashes back on and
Yeah. Listen, look it. I don't know if you could see these, but these things, like they're the magnetic ones. I recommend them.
Yeah, I've been wanting to try those.
They're good. They're good. Alrighty, I'm gonna go.
Right, yeah.
All right,
so we will be right back, guys. Bear with us. Right, we're back.
Excellent.
On to our next question then.
Yes.
Black History Month.
Yes.
What is it? Why is it important? And what does it mean to you?
So Black History Month is unfortunately the shortest month, but it's a way to celebrate Black voices. So, and it's not just Martin Luther King Jr., because I swear to God, I swear to God, there's more Black people in the world. But like it's just in general to, you know, allow us to celebrate our heritage and whatever culture we have or have created for ourselves. It's a matter of celebrating, you know, those marginalized voices for their accomplishments. And it's important because, you know, especially in the United States, people over here love to like hide shit out of textbooks and like don't teach the full history. Right? So that's why it's like, oh yeah, Columbus is cool. No, he's fucking not. No, he's not. Martin Luther King Jr. was a renegade. No. So it's important to be able to actually bring the factual history into the light. And so that's why I think it's important. I personally love it, but I hate that it's limited to a month. Like Black history is history.
Yeah.
So
I mean, that in itself is like, well, it's just history. You should be teaching it in schools exactly the same as the rest of the time that went on. And
yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
It's just
yeah.
I was asking my son who's doing virtual learning, like if they're doing Black History Month stuff, and they are, but they're learning about like basics. It's like Martin Luther King, Jackie Robinson, the first Black baseball player. Like, hello, have you seen Hidden Figures? Like, why are we not talking about them? Have you heard about Angela Davis? Malcolm X. Like, there's more than just the staples, the firsts. George Washington Carver, who created peanut butter. Like, there's more than that. And our schools are doing children a disservice by not being honest with them.
Yes.
It just sucks.
Yeah, and we definitely see that here in the UK as well, because it was only like in 2003 or something like that there were even the rumblings of having a discussion about LGBTQ, and that was shot down. And it's only recently in the last 5 or 10 years that have legally been able to talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't know that. Like,
it's crazy.
So yeah, and there's a lot like, in the UK. There's a lot we don't know about, you know, slavery and what the UK, what Britain and what British people and English people have done to others. We don't know any of it because we're just taught that we won the war. It's like,
I will say that UK schooling very much it celebrates what has occurred, and I mean the British Empire has a lot to answer for.
Oh yes, but we're just told that it made money and the Queen is cool and there's dogs now, and it's like, okay.
Very much we're brought up having that pride in what it accomplished, when really it should be, look what it destroyed.
I mean, to be fair, have you seen Trump? Because people celebrate his stupid ass too. So I said what I said. Don't at me.
Oh no, you can at me about that one.
But like, people in general will find a way to make themselves out to be the good guy, even when they're not.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little shady. It's a little shady. But, you know, history should be taught the way that it happened. Just facts. Leave biases out of it. Just teach facts. Same thing with like the news and media outlets. I don't need to know your personal feelings. Just give me the fucking facts.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Yeah, tell me what actually happened, and then we can actually discuss why it happened and how it happened, everything else afterwards. I just need to know the basics. You know, I don't need to know that this person that assaulted another is a school teacher and a mother of 4. You know, like I don't care. Somebody hit someone. That's all I need to know. Like,
yeah, absolutely.
Stop trying to make me feel bad and to demonize others based on certain things, because they do that all the time.
Yep, they do.
The UK has a lot of Islamophobia, You know, especially after, you know,
Yeah.
everything that happened with the two towers and with the bus explosions in London and that kind of thing. And you'll get these days, you'll see, oh, this young white man crashed a car, but you know, he's got a bright future at school and we don't think he should go to prison. It's like, oh yes, this man over here with a beard stole some bread and we're pretty sure he should be locked up for life. And stop putting bias straight into the news. Please just tell me exactly what happened and then go from there.
That's like Brock Turner over here, who sexually assaulted a girl behind a dumpster and was like, oh, he's got a bright future. Or Kyle Rittenhouse.
Oh, God.
And his stupid ass mama, who decided to drive him up in AR-7 and he fucking ended up killing somebody. He's now a national hero.
Well, he's gone missing, apparently, so that's interesting. They can't find him now, so but that's a whole other kettle of fish. But
yeah, I bet you he went to Mexico, and I bet you they're gonna send him right back.
Hopefully.
Sorry, I am listening. I'm just trying to fix the closed captions while we're talking.
Don't you worry. Don't you worry.
You're fine.
It's just apparently it just decided to give up.
It's just sad that all of our countries, our respective countries, because we are the children of said countries, are trying to teach us that we can't be bad. We aren't bad people. Everything we did is for the right of our people. And it's like, no, it's a world. There's a lot of us on it, and we have all affected each other. We should be trying. Effect. Yeah, we should be trying to learn the truth about what did happen, so that we don't repeat it. You know, there's not saying that we're not going to be angry with each other for things that have happened in the past, but you can't move past trauma by not acknowledging it. We need to understand what has happened and then actually work together to ensure that this shit doesn't happen again in the future.
Yeah, exactly. But unfortunately, it's you know, history as it's taught to us is bias. Yes. And I think that's kind of why Black History Month is so important, because sometimes it will allow people to actually get to the truth of what happened, right? Like, I remember in 4th grade having to watch like a documentary and watching Black people being hanged.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow.
It was rough. But I'm thankful for that, because then I understood the gravity of what it was like. Right? It's important. Maybe they could have waited until, you know, kids are a little bit older, but it's important to show the impacts of what, you know, has been done to people of color.
Yes.
Because we're going to find out one way or another.
And it's better to be honest and actually say, this is shit that happened and this is why we're talking about it, because it is important, than to say, we're the heroes and it's horrible this thing happened, but no, you can't actually understand it, because, you know, then you might hate us for it.
Yeah, I mean, I would rather be hated for living my truth than be liked for being somebody who I'm not. And it took me a long time to get there, right? So that's why I'm not afraid to stir the pot or make some waves. I don't care. I'm going to be as opinionated as I am. And the right people will flock to me and we will get along just fine. And the wrong people will think that I'm just a loudmouth N-word, yada, yada, yada. And that's fine. If that's what you think of me, that is your bias, not mine. Because at that point, my bias kicks in too. And I'm like, well, you probably, you know, are a white trash MAGA person who lives out of his truck. So I'm not free of bias. I'm not. But, you know, I admit that I'm not. And I admit when I'm wrong. And I think a lot of people don't do that. Especially like, and you know what? Okay, time out. Can we just talk about how now that it's Black History Month, all the racists come out to like really start some shit? All of them?
Oh, yeah.
Like they had like a little meeting in the fucking back closet and they're like, yo, listen, these Black people are put on a pedestal and we need to knock them back down. Rude.
Yeah. I mean, I'd like to say that they only come out once a year, but unfortunately,
absolutely. But like for some reason, like they're around year long, right? because Black people are around year long. But like for Black History Month, I have seen so much shit, so much more shit. Like every day on my timeline, I have at least 4 to 5, Black content creators like calling people out, like, this ain't okay. This is not right. Don't do this. And like I don't know if you guys follow I Am Brandon TV.
Brandon's wonderful.
I love him. Love him. He actually brought up a really good point where, even and I actually tweeted about this too, even in marginalized communities, we gatekeep other marginalized communities. You're not Black enough. You're not white enough. You're not queer enough. You're not this. You're not that. You're not you're not mentally ill enough.
Oh, yeah.
So much.
Right? And he actually had said something about like how he would go to gay clubs and like white people would just kind of stare at him. Like the white gay guys would just kind of stare at him like, no, why are you here? It's just, it's weird to me. It's weird to me. It's just really, it's off-putting. Like we are all at a point of having to fight for our existence. Why are we fighting each other?
I ask that often.
Right?
I mean, I identify with that just purely because of as you were saying with the marginalized communities. I've never felt very connected with a large LGBT community because of being pan.
Same.
And I got a lot more personal attacks from the LGBT community.
Yeah.
Because of my sexuality than I did from any of the het people that I knew.
Right?
It was like,
yes.
What?
Yes, absolutely.
And
so like,
and that's just me, a white girl, and you'd think that I don't experience those things, but if you put a BIPOC LGBT person with mental health issues in that, I can't even imagine.
I'm a magnet. Oh, I'm a magnet for all the drama. I love it. I'm just kidding. I don't love it. It's actually very tiring. But I mean, I still thrive off of it because that's who I am. Like I've been through so much in my life. Like whatever you have to say about me is not going to affect me because I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing. You could be miserable in your corner and think that you've gotten under my skin, and I'm going to prove you wrong. Because there was a point where, somebody said something like it was a huge LGBTQ post on Twitter. Obviously, all the drama happens on Twitter. But they're like, well, we need a trans tag before, like, and I agree with that. I was like, but you know what? Because, there's a bunch of people who are like, don't use the LGBTQ tag if you're not LGBTQ. Okay, I get that. I can respect that. But then give them an ally tag. And then somebody's like, well, why would we need an ally tag? Like they'd only be doing it for clout. I'm sorry, what? Like you don't want people in your corner? Because I know for me personally, sometimes I need a white person to tell somebody like, no, dude, you're wrong. Because at that point, they've already dictated that I was not worth their time. Mm-hmm. And they're not going to listen to me. They're gonna listen to somebody who looks like them more than they will ever listen to me. Right? Same thing with straight people who advocate for LGBTQ rights. Yeah. You may not like the reality of it, but we need them because they are the ones who are, putting in the work to talk to the people who look like them and are of their sexual identity, gender identity. And they're like, look, man, like, don't come at them sideways. Like they're just trying to live their life.
Yeah. I get in this argument a lot on Twitter because I am, angrily for trans rights, and the amount of people going, absolutely. Women's rights are being affected. I'm like, oh, you agree? Trans women are women, so women's rights are being affected, yes? No, that's not what I mean. Oh, well, what are you? You're not a woman. I'm like, actually, I am. I'm a cisgender woman, but you're trying to dictate on my genitals. Now, I can't have children, so am I not a woman now?
Yeah.
Is this
it's
why
crazy.
we're having this argument? Is it because I cannot produce children? Is that how you are dictating your own sex and your gender? And is this the crux of this argument? Is it genitals? If so, get your head out of other people's pants and please
Right.
leave them alone.
I
Right,
like
you
the
women.
idea that they're just going around going, "Whoop."
Yeah, just fucking emuing each other's underwear and just back up.
Is that what straight people do? I don't know. I'm out
Yeah,
of the loop.
I don't know. It's a bit weird. I haven't asked.
I
No, but then
how do they sex?
What?
yeah, it's like okay, hold on. These are legs, right? I don't know. It's like, but at the same time,
Oof.
you do have to. Being an ally is also hard work because you have to also understand that you don't know everything about. Like I'm massively for trans rights.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not trans. I don't know everything about what it's like to be trans. And I'm not going to claim I do because that's not right. But from my perspective, I can see as, you know, a cisgendered person, I can see where that inequality lies. And I'm happy to be the bridge. And so I think an ally tag would be a great thing.
I think it's
To
important.
say I'm willing to have this conversation and to be, you know, I'm willing to have a fucking shield and stand there and help.
But the kicker of that conversation was like she automatically assumed that I was not part of the community.
That's usually the case, isn't it?
And she's like, well, I'm a part of the community and yada yada. I was like, whoa, calm your fucking tits. Because you are assuming shit and that's on you. That's not on me.
Yeah.
Like, I don't have to defend myself. You decided to tell me who I was and you are wrong. And I'm going to tell you you're wrong.
In fact, that happened to me yesterday on Twitter as well. Sorry to interject, but
no, you're fine.
I won't say the name of the creator because I know they didn't mean it rudely or anything, but it was a trans creator who somebody had been quite nasty to, and I came in and I just left a comment saying, "Oh, that's fucking horrendous. I'm sorry." And they said, "Yes, it is. Now, what you need to do is uphold marginalized people. That's what we deserve." And I'm like, "All right." I'm not going to say anything because I don't want this to be like, actually. But at the same time, like, if you'd have taken 3 seconds to quickly just hover over my name and seen, you know, disabled, pansexual, ally, streamer, marginal. Like,
but that's
you'd
not
have known
enough.
that I'm in your court. But yeah, we should respect our allies because, goddamn, just because they don't look like us, it doesn't mean that people aren't fighting for each other. You can't disrespect an ally because they aren't having your lived experience. That's not how you reach other people. You don't have allies at that point then. You just have fans. Like,
right.
I feel like it's starting to get to a point where there's like a ranking system. So you're a 50% ally. You don't classify for this.
you can wear the pin
come
badge,
back
but not
when
the
you've got a
t-shirt.
few more badges.
Crazy. And like the thing that gets me is like this chick who was attacking me for not being part of the community when she was wrong. Like I had said to her, I was like, okay, so you're white, but you have Black Lives Matter in your profile. Am I supposed to think that you're just doing this for clout? And then she blocked me.
Oh, you could hear the sizzle on that one.
So you won that argument then?
Yeah.
Yes, basically. Because it's like, listen, you're telling me that I can't think that allies are a good thing, but you're sitting there screaming Black Lives Matter from the fucking rooftop until a black person's telling you, no, you're wrong. And then apparently Black Lives don't matter anymore, right? So who's really doing what for clout? Like, there are good people in the world who genuinely just want to help others. That's just it. Yes, there are people who are assholes who will probably try to use it for clout. I don't know why. It's a weird thing to use for clout, but I can't say that nobody's going to do that.
Use that marginalized group for clout because, you know, we're having such a fun time.
It's like companies putting a rainbow flag, you know, for Pride Month and doing very performative actions. Again, it's the, oh, we are with you. Oh, wait, it's the 31st. Cool, change it back.
If you, what are your opinions on crafters doing LGBT-themed merchandise for Pride Month? Because often there's this kind of mixed opinion because it's like they're doing it just to monetize on Pride.
Yes. So I would agree with that. I would think that there's a difference when, there's a straight person who is creating Pride gear and who is selling them, and the proceeds are going to, an LGBTQIA plus community or charity. Mm-hmm. But if you are doing it to just make money, make bank off of a marginalized community, kindly go fuck yourself. Like, you're not allowed in my hell.
But how do you police that? How do you...
I don't think unfortunately, there's not a way, right? There's not a way. You can't say, no, you're straight, you can't do this. Because people are going to do it regardless.
I mean, part of me wants to. Just to be like, yeah, you told us that we can't do shit for ever. So, no, you can't. You can't. No. Not allowed.
Right? Like, part of me would love to, like, just see, like, the look on, like, some white dude's face when I'm like, no, you can't do that. Because he'd be like, excuse me?
Yeah, no, you can't have that rainbow key ring. Sorry.
Yeah, right? But ours. It just... Also, if it is coming from a good place and they are genuinely allies, I don't necessarily mind. But if they are doing it with just, capitalism in mind, fuck off.
Doing stuff. If you're just being performative, fuck off. Stop it. We don't need it. But yeah, like if somebody was like, I've made these really cute coasters. They're Pride Month themed, and I support it. And I've made these things. And like, cool. That's nice. That's cute. Thanks for buying the colors to make the right thing. Like that's, you've crafted something cute. That's fine. If some money's going to a charity or some people need it, even better. That's great. But yeah, if it's Trump turning around and making rainbow MAGA hats, I'm just like,
please no.
Please no. Oh God, I've made an idea now. Oh Jesus, somebody else do that quickly before he does.
There was a question that I had earlier. You were mentioning about the N-word, and the question really is, what is your opinion of taking that back as your own and using it? What's your opinion on that?
I do it very seldomly. It's my choice. I don't like the word. I know it's just a word, and words really they only mean as much as we give them, but it's just not in my vocabulary. Like, if I'm going to sit there and like start, I don't know, dropping bombs at somebody, like, they're going to be creative. Like, I'm going to call somebody a twat donkey. That just makes me feel better.
I love that. It's great.
Like, I just, it's really hard. Like, I get people wanting to take it back, and that is absolutely A-okay. Like, they deserve that. Like, we as a people deserve that, because that was given to us as a title for being lesser than.
Yes.
Right? So if they want to take that back, do it. It's not for me. And like, even though it is just a word, it was it was thrust with meaning from the oppressor. So y'all want to take it back? Cool. Do it. It's not for me, because I don't want to, one, perpetuate a stereotype, because unfortunately that's what happens. And two, like, I mean, if I'm singing a song, yeah, absolutely. Or like, the only person that I ever really use it with is my one friend, because we just go back and forth with each other, and like, Ebonics just flows, and we are like back and forth, just like hanging out, playing games. That's the only time I'll use it.
But I also have the choice.
Yes, you need to have the choice. Like, but I will also teach my children what the word means, where it came from, where it originated from. And if they decide to use it, that's on them. But they are very white presenting, so good luck. That's all I gotta say.
That would be a dangerous game to play.
Right, like baby, like I love you. Yes, you're black. Look at me. You could tell them your mama's black, but be careful.
On that, are there any particular stereotypes that you come across that you can debunk about being a black woman or being in with mental health?
Yeah, absolutely. Let me just say that black people can be goth. Okay? Because colorism within the black community is a thing. I'm not any more or less attractive because my blackness is lighter than somebody else's blackness. Okay? Okay?
I mean, that one for me is very, like, having been in the goth community in the UK, it's funny how few people think that people of color can be goth too.
Yeah.
Like, I've known, like, I used to date a Sri Lankan, and people would react very negatively towards him dressing goth because of his skin color.
Yeah.
Because he was a shade of brown.
Yeah.
That didn't go with the goth aesthetic. And it was just like, I'm sorry, that dude's pulling off some good ass eyeliner and looking snazzy as fuck. Why?
Yeah, right?
What makes it? Who made that law?
Yeah, listen, I'm so goth, my skin is black. Don't talk. Don't at me. Don't at me. Okay? Don't fucking cancel me. Don't at me. I said what I said. Mm-hmm. But it is like that. I don't know why that's such a hard one. Also, I'm not too black. I'm not too white. Just because I can speak proper English and I can flow in and out with the way that I'm saying things, the cadence of my words, does not mean that I am any lesser than in who I am.
So sorry.
No, you're fine. Well, I'm sorry, what were you saying?
Yeah, are these stereotypes that you come across within black communities?
Yes, even with white communities.
Gatekeeping again.
Yeah. A lot of it is gatekeeping. A lot of it is like you can't be black if you are, in an interracial relationship. I've heard that. It's stupid. Yeah. You cannot be black if you speak proper English, which is stupid. Yeah. Or you get the white people who are like, oh, well, you talk really, really good for a black girl.
Oh, man. God. Ow.
Man, like, I ain't got time for your shit. Because I'll clap back. If you want ratchet, I'll give you ratchet.
Yeah,
I don't mind.
I'm just like cringing for whoever did say that initially, because Jesus, I know we don't season food properly, but that's tasteless. Like,
it just the stereotypes are like, unfortunately, like those are the ones that are most prevalent for me. But like, just because a black person listens to metal doesn't mean that they are not black.
Is it like a requirement that every person of color needs to listen to rap and
yes, over here that's pretty major. Like, that's like, well, can you really call yourself black if you're not wearing a do-rag or listening to rap? Like, rap is good, hip hop is good, I'm here for it, but it's not my preferred choice of music. I listen to it. There's a lot of good artists that I listen to, but a lot of the stuff that I listen to is underground. It's not like Lil Wayne, because some of his albums are like, they slap, and then some of his albums are just straight garbage. Okay, I said it. But, and that's another one. Like, just because I listen to music that is not just goth doesn't make me less goth. Please. Okay? It's weird where, like, we are basically like, pigeonholed into stereotypes, like typical black dude, wife beater, pants hanging around his ass, boxers up to Guam, nice shoes, gold teeth, chains, do-rag. That's honestly what a lot of people think. Not everyone, but a lot of people. And then for a black woman, they expect like big hips, big ass, like big titties, like loud, mean, rude, big hair. That's not always us. That's not always us. We are individuals. We are unique. We are allowed to be who we are. Like no shade to anybody who dresses that way. Like do it. Right? Like that's you. Be you. But don't think that all of us are that.
Be the best fucking badass you are. It's like...
That's what I'm saying.
I've got a couple of audience questions.
Sure.
If we're ready to move on to those.
All good by me.
So, what is something you would change about Twitch at this current moment?
Actually taking Black content creators more seriously when they're reporting something. Because there's been times when I've had to report things and those accounts are still up. I've sent them evidence, I've sent them proof, I've sent them all these things and they're still up. Take us seriously.
I mean, I don't think they take anyone seriously when you go to the reporting, to be fair. No. Like, I think reporting is just there as a kind symbolic.
Almost, right?
Informative reporting.
It's I would change that, honestly. And like, I would change actually allowing people to stream on a platform of hate. Because there are people out there who are partnered or more who are hate rating people, who are, blasting people on social media for the color of their skin. It's a real thing. It happens frequently. And why? There's no need for it. Treat us like you would treat your top creators. Because some of us are your top creators.
And some will never get the chance to be if you keep just smashing them down early. Like, your creators don't grow if you don't actually give them a fertile environment to actually do so.
It's that I think those creators that are doing that are basically, they're intimidated by the idea that someone who's actually good at what they're doing is out there. And people will realize that they're shit faces.
Yeah, absolutely. Because those toxic creators are the ones that create that environment.
Yes.
And when they use that platform, Twitch is responsible for it. There's no getting around it. Because it's kind of like, the fucking Republicans in this country, like, backing Trump, and then, like, now they created a monster. Like, y'all got to deal with him. You did it. It's the same thing.
Very much so. I think Twitch does need to take more of a responsibility point of view when it comes to its creators, the environments that it's fostering, and what it is that it stands for as a platform. Because people aren't protected. People aren't getting the protection that they need. They aren't getting the support that they need. They aren't getting the opportunities equally across the board. And that is I don't often I question why I stay on the platform. But it's the only one there. It's the only option. And that sucks.
It does.
Twitch has been asked to be held responsible, and I guess that's all we can keep doing. try and hold them responsible until such a point that they start doing it to themselves as well.
Exactly. We'll get there.
So I've got another one is, how do you handle people who use tones and inflections to portray the same offensive message that you can feel behind their words?
That's actually a really good question. I mean, I'm probably not the best to ask because I troll back. So I will like match up. For me personally, I match their inflection and I'll like do this little like cock my head to the side moment. And just kind of, that's what you got? Oh, okay. So like, because I do that because I'm not going to back down. Like, you're not going to come into my house and start throwing your shit all over my walls and me not say something to you. You're not going to come in there and try to troll me with the same shit, because I will call you out for that. Like, oh, that's what you got? Wow, real creative. I bet your fucking mother was she swallowed. Like, I will hurt you. I will hurt you. I don't give a fuck. If you're in there trying to make me upset or try to be mean to me in a way that you know is absolutely wrong, like you're not even creative about it, right? You're just gonna flat out call me an N-word, I will make you cry. Maybe not make you cry, but I'm gonna bite back. But that's just how I handle it. And they don't have to say, they don't have to drop the N-word. Like, if they are literally just coming at me sideways and inferring things with their tone of voice and word choice, I will match that. Because if I don't, then I'm considered weak and it will happen again. I have to fight back. I have to.
I mean, yeah. I think that's advice for everyone. It's trolls. I mean, obviously there are people that are going to get trolls more, depending on the marginalized community that they are in, where they're trying to stream in games wise. But in general, everyone's going to deal with some trolls at some point, and your best bet is to fight back.
Yeah, it is.
They are trying to get a reaction out of you. They're trying to make you feel bad. They're trying to entertain themselves in their little worlds with making you unhappy, and fucking bite back, bitch.
Yeah, absolutely. Hands down. You are not going to make me feel lesser than, because I know I'm not.
No.
Because in this situation, like, I clearly am saying or doing something that you either want or cannot stand because you are not there. So apparently I'm doing something right. Because if you feel the need to drag me down, it only means that you're jealous. Okay, cool.
Yeah,
Cool.
and it's definitely annoying that when, especially, most of us are working or have worked, careers, jobs, that kind of thing. It's told it's unprofessional to respond to these things, but at the same time, like you've said, this is your house, this is your environment. Like, you are the boss of this environment. Are you going? Is this what you would do as the boss? Would you let somebody come into your shop and just throw your shit everywhere and be like, I ain't paying? Like, no, I'm not. I'm telling you to get out of my store, or I'm calling the police. Like, I'm not just going to stand there and, be like, thank you for being here. Thank you for coming and wrecking all my shit. I appreciate you. It's like, no, your view don't mean that much. Like,
it doesn't, because I will attract my tribe by being who I am.
Yeah.
And if I don't bite back, listen, they will. They will.
Yeah. And it's like, what are you going to do? Like, if you've got your moderators as well, how do they know what to respond to if you won't ever respond to it as well?
Exactly.
Like, there are, of course, times that you're not going to. There are times that sometimes you don't have the energy to, but that's why when you can make an example and you can put your foot down and show what you stand for, you do, because then other people will follow in your lead.
Exactly.
And then you don't have to, because it is tiring as well.
Yeah. Sometimes, but I'm also a sadist or a masochist, and I'm a sadomasochist actually. So I don't mind going toe to toe sometimes. I kind of get a thrill out of it, if I'm honest.
It can be fun to be bad sometimes.
I'm a terrible, terrible, terrible lady. I'm okay with it.
Oh yes, and fuck the whole lady stereotype as well,
Right?
Please
Yeah,
go away. That died with corsets. Please take it away.
I mean, I like me a good corset, but
yes, but
I'm going to tell you where to shove it as well.
Exactly. Whalebone and all. It's like
Oh gosh.
Oh dear. There was a generalized question of do you feel small streamers also need to be heard and taken seriously?
Yes. Small creators are the backbone of Twitch.
mm-hmm.
That's it. Period. Okay? Small creators are the backbone of Twitch. Where do you think they're making most of their revenue? Off us. So yeah, we absolutely need to be taken seriously.
I mean,
why is it so much easier to become an affiliate than it is to become a partner? Anyone can become an affiliate within 12 hours of streaming.
Yeah.
And that's when they start making money. So of course it's easy to become an affiliate. It's easy to start giving Twitch 50% of your earnings.
it's not easy to get that first payout. So they hold on to it that entire time. But
Yeah.
I don't like the concept of small streamers and big streamers.
No.
You're only a small streamer if you
either.
think you're a small streamer. Just
Yeah,
because
that's
your
true.
numbers are nothing. Like, the numbers are bullshit. What's important is your community. And
Absolutely.
what you're putting out and how you're interacting. And you can't measure that in sizes. Like, you can't measure the kind of environment that you need to be interacting with in a, whether or not it's small or large. It's
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. I agree 100%.
Yeah, Twitch is a metrics game. That's just how it is. It's stats, numbers, and KPIs, but you are not, because you're not a machine. You are a person. And so, just because that number, you had X amount of viewers for that stream, cool. But was the content good? Did you enjoy yourself? What was the community like? What were the responses like? Did anyone new come in because they liked the vibes? It's more about what you're actually putting out there and what will come back to you by keep doing that. It's like a tiny wave doesn't turn into a tsunami just by accident. It keeps fucking rolling back there with the help of the moon. But so
the moon being the community. Hey!
Yes. Hey! Right, somebody put that down on a t-shirt and we will, there we go. We'll get that onto a very cringe-worthy store.
But yeah, I mean, we'll get there. We'll get there. But I want to do it my way. I want to do it in a way that I am going to be unapologetically Black, and I'm going to be unapologetically queer, and I'm going to be unapologetically woman some days. Other days, not so much. Other days, I'm just kind of stuck in limbo, and I'm androgynous as fuck, and I'm like, hey.
Also, fuck Teespring. Sorry. I wish that I could find another merch store because I fucking hate that place.
Designed by humans.
It doesn't do UK.
Oh, bitch.
Yeah.
We're very limited in our options.
Oh,
everything, including mental capacity by the seams of it. So, jeez.
But
sorry.
Yeah, no. Teespring have renamed themselves to cover up the fact that they were supporting white supremacist companies that were just allowing them to print shirts and weren't filtering it. And now they're called Spring.
Oh yes, Teespring.
Drink my tea.
Yeah, Teespring's where some of the more choice clothing from the Capitol riots came from. So
Of course. Fuck them, stupid asses.
Yeah, please vet content that people put onto your platform.
Yeah.
That goes for Twitch, t-shirt sites, Twitter, all of that shit. Your website is not owned by the government, which means you can create your own rules. If you make a rule, stick to it.
Yes. Yes.
Like, that's it. And that goes for small creators, big creators, and platforms. Like, if you say no racism on my platform, but you let your one friend come in and say something because you're friends, well, then that's not enforcing a rule. Like, have the same rule that you will for your friends as you do for your business partners, as for everyone else. Like,
exactly.
Oh yeah,
stick
no.
to your guns.
No matter
Stick to
who
your
they
guns.
are, no matter who they are, you hold them responsible for the kind of shit that they bring. And
Yes.
if they are going to come in and be that dickhead, well then.
Yeah, absolutely. Because your community is a direct reflection of you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Period.
How
Point
they
blank,
act.
the end.
Mhm.
Yeah. So I usually will avoid those kinds of creators who, like, they don't say it, but their friends don't say it, and they don't have the fucking gall to stand up and be like, bro, don't say that shit.
Yeah.
Don't say that.
You have to be willing to call each other out, because you do a disservice to other people when you won't stand up for them because you're afraid of upsetting somebody else for your own gain.
Exactly.
I mean,
Exactly.
everyone goes through that point. Everyone goes through that assumption that because new streamers are all told to placate and to just have make friends with everyone who comes in, and it takes a long time for you to realize that you don't need to do that. You don't.
Yeah.
You be you. You fucking hold people accountable. No matter what your numbers, hold people accountable. Make the environment that you want to have around you, and the people will come because
Exactly.
you are culturing the right sort of environment, and your people will find you.
It's like the saying that one bad apple doesn't spoil the cart, and that's true, but you leave that bad apple to fester, it will spoil it.
Exactly.
Like, if you get that one apple out there, fuck, it's great. The rest of the apples are fine. Maybe one needs cleaning, but it's fine. The apples are fine. You leave one rotten apple, it'll attract flies, and the rest will go to shit. So if you have a rotten apple, get rid of it. The rest of your community is your responsibility as a creator as well. So if you know you've got somebody in there who's making others uncomfortable, not even for your sake, for others, you get rid of them. Because people in your streams are just names. You don't know that this person is black, this person is a mother of 3, this person is disabled, this person's actually a cisgendered white person, but they've gone through some shit this week, this person's an asshole. The rest of these people, you don't know who they are or what they have gone through, and they're all going to be affected by that one piece of shit that's turned up.
Yeah.
So get rid of them. Like, you don't need to placate assholes.
I actually had a call this week. I went through and was just like, I'm not dealing with your shit anymore. I'm not dealing with your shit anymore. I'm not dealing with your shit anymore. My community does not need you.
And it can feel scary, and you can feel like the bad person, because I've had to get rid of somebody in my community who wasn't necessarily breaking the rules, but was skirting them so carefully for so long that I was dreading seeing their name anytime it turned up. I'm like, what have they done now? And in the end, it was like, okay, they just need to go, because if I'm doing this, other people are doing this, and there's a reason my Discord stopped talking to each other right now. What's going on? And then that went away, and hey, people started talking again. It's like
everything's fine again.
So yes, hold yourself and your community accountable, and don't be afraid to get rid of somebody that's spoiling the vibe, because it's very much your environment. It's your house. You can get rid of them. You aren't employing them. There's no legality to keep them there.
Yeah, exactly. I honestly, like, there used to be a point where I was like afraid to do that, and I mean, once you almost like kiss death, like, nothing really fucking scares you, right? Like, okay, you don't like me, cool, I don't give a fuck. Next. Next. Like, Oh, you're going to sit here, talk shit? Cool. I don't care. And something that I just want to share very quickly.
Go for it.
Y'all, what other people say about you behind your back is not your business. It's not. Because if they had respected you and they genuinely appreciated who you were, or even like they just had enough respect for you, they'd tell you to your face.
Yep.
So don't get caught up on the he said, she said, especially in content creation, because there's a lot of it.
Mm-hmm. And you don't know everything about creators as well. Like, people have got lives. You only see like 2 hours of this here and this there as well. Like, you don't know everything. So
I think that's something that a lot of people need to realize, is that you see a snapshot of what a creator allows you to see. The persona that is on stream quite often is not the entirety of that person. And it's you do not disillusion yourselves into thinking that what you see is everything about them.
Exactly.
And please don't try and date creators.
We can get into that one as well.
It's an entirely separate 2-hour podcast.
Oh yeah. But we are out of time. So any last words? Any last words of wisdom, guys?
Yeah. Be kind to yourself. Honestly, be kind to yourself, because you are your own harshest critic. Know when you need time and take it. People will always be out there and they will always try to, drag you down because you got something they want. Don't let them, because you're better than that. You're stronger than that, and you deserve way more than that. And that's my drop.
I like it.
I think it's a good
Thanks.
one.
Yeah, man.
Right. Can I get some more shout outs for the lovely Arthremis, my co-host of Gloriousness, and for RekitRaven, who is our most splendiferous guest that has really this has been it's been amazing. Thank you so much for joining us.
So much fun. Thank you for inviting me on. I'm just really happy to be able to talk to you guys.
I wish we had way more time. There's so much we could talk about. It's been difficult to.
I get it. No, I totally get it.
Yes, so guys, if you would like to follow the lovely people upon this podcast, please go to those links, give them some love. Our next podcast will be on the 11th of March.
I think so. I think so.
2 weeks' time. It's fortnightly.
Is that how time works?
We have got Dr. K. Ross joining us to talk about her experience with being trans, her opinions on that, and the way in which that has helped her on a journey of self-discovery, which I'm very much looking forward to. I think Kay's going to be a delight, as always. But yes, thank you guys so much for joining us. If you would like to catch up with the podcast, it will be edited and put up on various places for you to peruse. And you can check out the last one because that's already up. But thank you guys, and thank you so much. For talking.
Thank you, everyone, and again, thank you so much, Raven. Thank you for giving us your time. It's the most valuable thing you can give, so thank you for giving it to us.
Oh hell yeah! Thank you for your time as well.
I'm sure the community.
No, ours is fine. Just fine.
Yeah.
Alrighty, guys.
All right. See you later. Thank you so much.
All right.
Good times.
My cams are all fooked, but
Not the fooked cams.